Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 25th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudell of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. Between them, they've covered Penn State for more than 80 years. The NitWits are hosted by WTAJ's Anderly Penwell, and each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By Remax Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we're a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, the power of physical therapy. By Fullington Tours, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from locations in State College and Altoona. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hello, and welcome to the Bowl preview, the Rose Bowl preview of Nittany Nation Overtime. I'm Anderly Penwell, joined as always Mark Brennan and Neil Riddell. And to bookend the year, Joe Nastasi, former Penn State receiver, is joining us. Thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me again.
Nice shoes.
Of course.
Yeah, hey, you know what? I couldn't disappoint the fans. You know, I had to come with the orange Uggs.
And congrats to Joe and his State High team for a great season.
Oh, yes. Thank you
Awesome.
again. Yeah, that was fun. Appreciate that.
You guys were a fun team to watch. But another fun team to watch this year was Penn State, 10-2, heading into the Rose Bowl. Where do we want to start with this Utah matchup?
Go ahead, Neil.
Well, I watched them against Southern Cal, and I was really impressed. You know, they hit hard, play hard. The quarterback was a tough leader. You know, they beat Southern Cal twice. You know, watching that game, I thought they're going to be favored by a touchdown against Penn State. Well, that kind of leveled itself off. But you know, Utah played at Ohio State in a shootout last year in the Rose Bowl. They can score out there. You know, I think it's a really good matchup, especially if Penn State would have got caught holding the bag and had to go play in the Cotton Bowl against Tulane. This is a great matchup.
Yeah.
Mark, to me, they seem a little bit Big Ten-esque. Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
That's absolutely. I was just going to say that. You beat me
Telepathy
to the punch.
there, man.
Yeah. I mean, this is a team, when you watch them, they are going to punch you in the mouth. I mean, Whittingham, the job he's done there, he's built that program like a Big Ten program. And when you watch them play in the Pac-10, that's why they've been so successful. They run the ball well. They're extremely physical. And Cam Rising, to me, you know, I think a lot of people had an opportunity to watch that Pac-12 championship game because you knew what the implications were. When Cam Rising got his helmet knocked off and popped up, you know, the guy looks like Dave Grohl, number one, without the helmet on, but he popped up and just put that helmet on, went back out and played. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I mean, this guy is legit. Now, I will say this, that I think if Williams doesn't get banged up for Southern Cal, there may have been a different outcome, but I love this matchup. As Neil said, as opposed to going to the Cotton Bowl and getting a League of Six or whatever it was opponent or wherever you may have gone, you're not getting USC, who you've played so many times in this game. This is a new opponent. The two teams have never played. And again, a hard-nosed, smash-mouth team. I love it. I think it's going to be fun.
Joe, what stands out to you?
You know, I think this, you know, being a little biased, but I think this is the best matchup of the season, really, in the bowl games and even in the playoffs. I mean, you see our two teams, and it is going to be interesting. Now, a guy that I played with, Kurt Enos, his son plays for Utah. He wears number 21 out there. He's a wide receiver for Utah, so it'd be a little more interest for me in the game as well. But I think, for us, defense is going to have to win this ball game for us.
So this guy's a little trimmer than Kurt was.
Hey, I'll tell you, he's taller too, because his son here, Solomon, he's like 6'4". He's a big, tall receiver.
That also goes to show what Utah has done over the past 10 or 15 years, because Penn State was recruiting young Enos very hard. I mean, they really would have liked to get him, and he was living out west, I believe, and ended up committing to Utah and going to Utah. But that's a program that's recruiting very well. You see what they've done in the Pac-12. They had a tough game with Oregon this year, but they destroyed Oregon the past couple years. So it's one of the elite programs in the Pac-12.
Coach is creative. That coach is creative too. He's really good.
And one thing with bowl season are some opt-outs. We have a graphic of the people so far. On the Penn State side, Joey Porter Jr. is opting out, and Parker Washington also is, but that one kind of only half counts because he had already had the injury. And then for Utah, their corner Phillips and their tight end Kincaid, who is kind of leading the team in all fronts there. Are you guys surprised at the lack of opt-outs this year?
Well, I think it's a really good sign for Penn State, particularly having a number of guys that bailed on the Outback Bowl last year. More meaningful game.
The Outback Bowl is what you said.
But they finally lost their sponsorship. It was the longest running.
I wish I knew you could get a good steak around here.
Played in two of those.
Yeah, but some of the guys that are going to be drafted, whether it's Strange and Scruggs and guys like that, I was very encouraged that they want to play. And you go back to the Fiesta Bowl, Saquon played in that game. So I think it's a good sign and more optimism for Penn State, because they're going to have a pretty full roster.
Yeah.
Joe, is the magnitude of the Rose Bowl the reason why?
I think they're probably getting better information now. I mean, I got to believe, because, some of these guys, and we've talked about it offset a lot, some of them, this is a very important game for them in order for their draft status. So, I think there's a lot to be said about the information they're getting, what they want to do, and being able to play in a game like this with a lot of eyes on them. So more film helped Lucetta last year, and we all talk about it. I just think it's better information.
And another question that we brought up this year is a 10-2 record. After a very objectively rough 2020, 2021 is a little shaky. Do you have to win this game in order to solidify 2022 as a comeback year?
I don't think so. I mean, I think what they needed to do was get to 10-2, be in a position to go to a New Year's Six Bowl again. This is the position they were in before the pandemic hit. And James Franklin has said that they probably didn't adjust as well as some other programs did to the pandemic situation. So you have 2 down years, and we'll see. I mean, he's talking about getting back to where they were. It appears that that's where they are. Where is that? That's 1 step behind Ohio State. Now, the other issue is it's now 1 step behind Michigan as well. But it's better to be at this point than where they were the last couple years, which was a 500 team.
I think it's been a bounce back year that people can feel good about. But I don't think that you can call it a great year unless they win this game. They win this game, I think you can call it a great year. We throw the word great around a little too much, but for Penn State and its traditions and what it's trying to do, to me, if they win this game, I think they could really feel good about it, because you really don't have a signature win. The best moment of the year, we'll get to that, but Purdue's your best win.
All right, you said good, not great. We will touch on that when we come back with our team MVPs and some of the guys who stood out for us. Don't go anywhere.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntingdon. And by McAlear's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Hello and welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. Penn State 10-2 on the year, and we had some MVP voting that we had. So we have a graphic. Honestly, we all had fairly similar comps for some of the guys we thought to be the MVPs. So here are our Nitwit MVPs. like I said, not everyone had the exact same ones, but generally we agree that Singleton was the MVP, overall team MVP. The offensive player of the year is the freshman running back Singleton and Allen. Defensive player of the year, Jair Brown, and the best freshman, Abdul Carter. So Joe, you picked Singleton as the MVP. What about him is so special?
Well, I mean, it was close between him and Allen, but I just like it because the reason that we have the 10 wins as opposed to, say, like 8 wins is because of the run game. I know the running back room, and I know we're getting to that a little later, but great job of getting those guys in there. Offensive line did better, but without that run game, you're going to lose at least 2 of those games. It's just what it is. That's how football is. It's not going to change. You got to be able to run the rock a little bit. You could see it last year when we couldn't. So to me, that's the reason we're in the position we're in to go to Rose Bowl is because of a guy like Nick Singleton. I mean, Allen's a close second, but again, I believe he's a MVP because of that.
And for the offensive player of the year, Mark was the only one who was actually able to be decisive and pick one of the 2 between Singleton and Allen. The rest of us split them. Mark, what about that 1-2 punch is special?
Yeah, I think number one, Allen had a terrific year. I mean, I don't want to diminish what he did, but the thing about Singleton is he was an eraser. That's what James Franklin called him, and I think he added an element to the offense that had been missing since at least Journey Brown, if not Miles Sanders and Saquon, and that's the ability to take it to the house on any given play. And I don't know that Katron necessarily had that. Why was that important? Because I think it made defenses play much more honest than they did the last couple years. And I think that in turn made the offensive line better, and that in turn made Clifford better. So I think, again, both of those running backs were very, very good. And I thought Juice Scruggs was tremendous. But I think, to me, Nick Singleton was the difference maker on this team.
And Neil, you picked Tig for your defensive player of the year. What about him was special, and what sort of intangibles?
Well, I think the secondary was one of the strengths of the team, and he was the leader back there. I know Porter took away a lot on that one side. But, I'm looking at Brown as a body of work here for a couple years, his interception totals, being around the ball. That was my choice. What I was impressed with is you sent out that text, and these guys sent it out and responded immediately, Andrew Lee. They don't respond to me that way.
Neil, that's because they blocked you, Neil.
Can I add something about Tig? I mean, I think that his versatility worked against him in terms of all Big Ten honors because he ended up not having the pass breakup numbers. But you know what he had? He had tackles for loss. He had sacks. He led the team in tackles. They used him in that prowler package, which is a different version of the nickel and dime, where he was up by the line of scrimmage. And I feel bad that he ended up with third-team All-Big Ten notice because when you're voting on those things, it's tough. And a lot of people just go right to the pass breakups and right to the picks. He didn't have all those numbers. I think he was by far the MVP of this defense, and he was one of the best DBs in the Big Ten. He got gypped.
I think definitely he was kind of the king of the intangibles. And then for the best freshman, we were kind of split a little bit, but I think Abdul Carter was because we knew Singleton had the hype leading up to him, but we've talked about it. Carter was maybe a little more unknown, so to speak, to fans or people who aren't in that staff. And his development through the season really stuck out to me. And there's a couple plays, man, where he'd close down quarterbacks, and that's speed that's you don't see too much in the Big Ten. That's SEC speed. That's sprinter speed. So moving forward, I think they're in a good spot. But in the conversation of moving forward, next year, which position groups are set up to be in good spots?
Well, I mean, running back, I think is in a really, really good spot. Yeah. I think offensive line is in a good spot, even though Juice hasn't announced what he's doing, but I think we know what he's going to do. But I think the depth they were able to build on the offensive line, because of those injuries, and I think their secondary is going to be terrific again, but I do think they might try to grab a corner or two from the portal.
Well, I'd say linebacker, just with the fact that Carter's coming back, it should be a pretty strong unit. Jacobs had a good year.
He's got a decision to make, though.
Freshman's coming in. They got a new freshman coming in.
And Joe, what about the receivers? Where do you think they are situationally?
I think they're going to be hitting the transfer portal for that as well. I mean, whether we like it or not, I mean, this is the way football is working now in the college ranks. I mean, you're not. I don't want to say you're not developing guys, but you're you're picking some up out of high school, but you're really diving into that transfer because they can make an impact immediately on your team. And I think that's where they're going to have to go. I mean, they just do that because they're going to need some leadership out there. I know they have some guys that are playing and they played well, but they need that splash play guy.
Yeah,
that's what they're missing.
When you lose your top two receivers in Mitchell Tinsley and obviously Parker Washington.
Yeah.
Now I will say this: I think Trey Wallace has a very high upside. I think Omari Evans is a guy who was a high school quarterback. And to do what he did at receiver for them in limited action, super fast, I think he has a really high upside. But that's definitely going to be an area they approach in the portal.
They just don't. You just don't have the time anymore, and you don't to really develop because you just don't know how many years you're going to have guys 1 and 2. You need the splash guy to blow the lid
Lambert
off
Smith
of
is
it.
a guy who flashed at the end of the season, but I expected more of him
they
throughout
have
the
him,
year.
but they're going to need that Jahan
Well, you
Dotson.
also have a selling point in Aller.
Yeah.
To sell to these receivers.
Slinging
Just a
around,
casual 5-star. And on the other side, quickly, is there any position groups that you're already preemptively worried about next year?
I wonder what's going to happen at place kicker. You know, whether Pinniger, he was introduced at senior day, so I don't know whether he's coming back or not. But, you know, I think the special teams generally, they lost, losing Stahl, and he was a national award winner. And we'll see what happens with Barney. Barney was tremendous the first half of the season, but then he might have tailed off a little bit.
Yeah, I think P.J. Mustapher is going to be a guy who's not very easy to replace. I mean, they have some good talent there. I thought Keziah Holmes actually played well as the season went along. Or Izzard, I'm sorry, not Keziah Holmes, the running back, but Izzard. I thought he played well as the season went along as he went back. But I think P.J. Mustapher, that big 330-pound run stuffer, they just don't grow on trees. Be a pretty big tree.
Plus, he was a great leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
You need big bodies in the Big Ten, but we'll take a quick break. But when we come back, Pat Kraft had a press conference this week. We'll break down some of the things the AD said.
The NitWits are being brought to you by RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage. No matter what type of weather, we're a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. And by Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Well, back here on Nittany Nation Overtime, Dr. Patrick Kraft had a press conference earlier in the week, kind of just the Rose Bowl cap. That's when we also heard from coaches and coordinators and players. And you can go on to our podcast and hear the full press conference. To us, it was quite illuminating. Dr. Kraft had quite a few things to say. Mark, you were there. What was your main takeaway from that press conference?
Number one, the energy this guy brings is just
How much coffee do you think he drinks?
Unbelievable. I mean, he came in, and you know what the cool thing is? He came in 10 minutes before his press conference. It was just yapping with people, So he's a people person, and that comes across. And I think he's really well aligned with Franklin and the president, and I just think, I really love everything I hear from this guy. The one thing I was surprised by is that he wasn't more definitive in that they need to do a better job NIL-wise. I mean, I think they've gotten better, and I don't know why he's not pounding that drum, but I think he has to make Penn State fans aware that this NIL is here. You may not like it, but if you want to compete, they're going to have to find ways to get money into these NIL situations, into these collectives, and I was just surprised he didn't take that opportunity to be more vocal about it.
Part of the deal is they don't totally understand it.
Well, he does.
He does.
Yeah.
But as far as disseminating the information of how many collectives there,
It's his job to disseminate that info.
I get it, but so when you said about Penn State fans not necessarily liking it, I think a lot of them don't totally understand.
Right, and that's
it.
my point. I think that was a perfect opportunity for Pat to come out and explain, listen, this is the new normal, this is the way it's going to be. And listen, he's way smarter than me, so I'm sure he's going to get the message across eventually.
They'll do it at some point. I mean, you see that Ohio State, when Day came out and said it, he's right on. I mean, you need between $10 and $15 million a year for these programs. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, and these big boys, that's how they're going to play.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I also like the fact that he was just honest about Beaver Stadium finally. I mean, we've had all these studies and everything else. He just said it's not feasible to rebuild it. And it's not. And why would you put $1 billion into that when you want to pay for all these sports, you want to find NIL money? That place you're getting 107,000 people a game in there. Why do you need a new one? So I think his thing of improving it, that makes sense. Rebuilding it, I don't even know why that was on the table and why they didn't take it off the table.
And where would they put it as well?
Yeah.
I mean, they have the land, but at the same time, I agree with you. You just got to upgrade it.
Yeah, I think Penn State fans want to stay attached to Beaver Stadium. A renovated Beaver Stadium, better bathrooms, a lot of things about it, but they want to go there.
You didn't even go to the press box.
One little detail there. I mean, the press conference or the press box food is pretty good, so we'll stay with that.
Great job there.
Yeah, me too. I love the ice cream. But we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll give our picks for the Rose Bowl and some other housekeeping details.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Fullington Tours, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from locations in State College and Altoona. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back to Nittany Nation Overtime. Penn State getting ready to take on Utah in the Rose Bowl. Now, the Rose Bowl is always January 1st, except this year, because it's on a Sunday, it will be moved to January 2nd. So that game is at 5 o'clock. Number 11, Penn State, number 8, Utah, their first ever matchup. And another quick thing we'll get right into is our Nitwit of the Year standings. Mr. Riddell currently on top of that one because I can't do math, as we've proven. Sorry, Mark. So
What happened to the guest? What a question.
Well, I won the whole thing because I called 10-2, so I won.
You did call
everything.
10-2.
10-win season, so I'll take the credit for that. Yeah.
So with the Rose Bowl, what are our picks? Neil, you can go first.
Without Washington to take the top off there a little bit, I think they're gonna have to manage the game and emphasize the run a little bit more and try to keep Utah's offense off the field. I think Penn State's defense has been a strength. I'm going to say Penn State 23, Utah 20.
I think kind of opposite, actually. They've been putting up really good numbers the last couple games. The last 4 game stretch, they put up more points at that time than they had any other time in the year. And yes, it is Rutgers, but just with the way it's been flowing, I think it's going to be 34-21 Penn State.
Wow, I will, I like the fact that so many guys decided to opt in to this game. I think it speaks to the leadership. I think it speaks to the fact that they're motivated to play in this game. We've seen some crazy scoring things in Penn State bowl games, especially in the last Rose Bowl. So I think we're going to see some points, and I will go Penn State 34-30.
What about you, Jeff?
Okay, well, you know what? I'll keep it simple. I think there's going to be fireworks in the fourth. I like a higher scoring game. I like 38-35 Penn State.
All right, Penn State. Penn State
landed on me.
collectively winning this one. For this one.
Math skills are not the strength, people, of the Nitwit, so we can tell you that much.
No, it's not. But yeah, the Rose Bowl is on January 2nd. We will have our wrap show on January 8th. I will not be there. Bye, guys. Andrew Clay will be filling in for me. We will be on the ground in Pasadena, though, so very exciting. And then in ways to stay up with all things Nittany Nation, you can download our app. We'll pull up something right there. That QR code there on your screen will keep you up to date with all things Penn State, and we'll have a whole bunch of Rose Bowl coverage. We already have it. We'll have more coming up. So, guys, you ready to go to sunny LA and get out of the snow?
4th Rose Bowl for me and Neil.
Yeah.
So
Andrew
very proud of
did
that.
a great job this year, and happy New Year to everybody.
Yes.
We will get I will get a picture of these two with the roses in their mouth if Penn State wins. I promise. So we will post that. But thank you guys for watching. Joe, thank you for stopping
Thank you.
by.
I appreciate it.
We will see you
Thank you.
after the Rose Bowl. Thank you for watching and have a great day.
The NitWits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Monarch Cleaners, for all your dry cleaning, carpet cleaning, and rug cleaning. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntingdon. By McAleer's Plumbing, specializing in plumbing, heating, and air conditioning, serving our community since 1886. By RE/MAX Results Realty Group, committed to a culture of professionalism, productivity, and exceptional service. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Star Beverage, no matter what type of weather, we're a convenient drive-through one-stop beer store. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By NovaCare, Altoona and State College, we proudly support Penn State football. By Fullington Tours, offering round-trip transportation to and from Beaver Stadium from locations in State College and Altoona. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.